Hi, I'm Rosco, and welcome to EV Marketplace on a Wednesday night. Your place for EV deals, data, and discovery. And if it's Wednesday at 6:30, it's got to be EV night. And well, if you're watching live on YouTube, thanks for joining us. If you're watching live on Facebook, good to have you. If you're watching live, and Joseph's joined us, so thanks very much. If you're watching later on and catch up, a great night ahead of us tonight. Doing things about face tonight. That's back the front. We've got our guest this evening in the first half of the show. He's got another commitment at 7 o'clock, so we'll have him on just in a couple of moments. Of course, it's Riz Akhtar, who's most of you may know, but founder of Carloop, columnist for The Driven, president of AEVA in Victoria, multi-committed EV owner. He's driven just about everything, and I think he's number one ticket holder in the Chairman's Lounge. Still at Bonza, not worth anything at the moment, but anyway, you've probably seen him later on this tonight, normally on the Ludicrous feed, but we've managed to snag him tonight. So he'll be joining us in just a few moments to talk about this crazy EV market that's going on at the moment. We've got used EV cars prices going up, and we've got new EV prices going down as the market's more competitive. Riz is at the coalface with his research company Carloop, and he's got all the insights. He's driven just about everything. He's been at the Melbourne Motor Show just recently, and he's off to China shortly as well. So we're going to have to see if we can work out what's going on with this crazy market at the moment. We're struggling too, but after the break, a little bit later in the show, we've got some more market data. We've been talking about it for a couple of weeks now. We finally got some information through just about how much that market moved. We've got some cars on AmazingEV as well. There's not many left. And the prices have ticked up, so maybe things might be slowing down just a little bit as petrol prices return back to, normal. But that remains to be seen. We're still looking for stock. If you want to list, there's a coupon down below. We're happy to list for free at the moment at AmazingEV, our very own used marketplace. So check that out as well. And of course, we've got some breaking news as well from overseas and around the country about them. I think there's never a dull moment in the EV marketplace. So stay tuned. I've got Riz coming up in just a few moments, and let's lead him in with a suitable intro. Hey, Riz, thanks for joining me.
Hey, good to be on, Rosco. There's as you said in your intro, the market's going crazy. Where do we actually sit? I think we're gonna have a good couple of minutes talking about this.
I know I've got you till 7, so we could go for hours. We've been talking before, and I've been looking forward to this for a long time. But what a time to be talking right now! It's just unbelievable. But hey, go back a couple of years. What was your first aha moment? You've been around a lot longer than I have. You've been more committed than I have. You've been an owner for a lot longer than I have. What got you into this whole thing?
Oh, a long time ago. I think I did my very first electric car I drove was the Mitsubishi Maev when I was doing an internship at Bosch in Clayton, and they got one, and it was just sitting in the front if anyone wanted to go and take it for a quick spin, and I did because nobody else would touch it. So, quick drive around the big Bosch campus in Clayton for those of you that know down here in Melbourne. And I was like, this is something pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was a big step up than what I was driving back then, a 1990 Ford Laser that was like nearly 20 years old. So that was one big step up. But then, just kept an eye out on the market as sort of, Tesla came about, and then drove the Model S in 2017 as a bit of a test drive, and then didn't think much about it, and then accidentally ended up with a Model 3 sort of in late 2020, and never looked back. And I think what was sort of the aha moment was, this car as a car enthusiast, not even an EV fan second, but as a car enthusiast, this car had everything. It had the technology, it had the speed, it had the smoothness, it had the instant acceleration, and all the things that we're used to. That's the sort of stuff that this thing had. And then I was tinkering away with some data and a couple of other things, and I realized that how the future really is going to be electric. And then it was sort of early days of what was already developing quite rapidly. But behind the scenes in China, with the likes of BYD, and I accidentally ended up with an electric car. I accidentally became a journalist. I accidentally am on the show with you. So after many, many accidents, it's as it turns out that the I started to cover BYD on the Driven probably in 2022,
Yeah.
just after there was an announcement, but we were covering what they were doing overseas in
Yeah.
terms of in the China market a bit before that. And sort of there was more to the substance, more to it than what a lot of people were paying attention to. And
Yeah.
look at them now, like it's pretty much a household name.
It's unbelievable.
It's crazy, right? And today, actually, it's an interesting day. Today, they delivered their 100,000th new energy vehicle in
Unbelievable.
Australia.
Unbelievable, isn't it? And such a short space of time. I think we test drove one in 2022 as well, something like that.
Yeah.
There was an Atto 3, a Polestar 2, BYD. There was, that's all they had was one model at that stage.
Yeah.
And Carloop, tell us a bit about Carloop, your heart, your business. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I left full-time engineering work about 10 years ago now, and I wanted to get back into cars and tinker away with some things. And through that journey, a lot of the things that you're sort of involved with and helping friends and people buy and, get not get ripped off when they're buying a car, but at the same time, help them sell as well. So I started doing a little bit of that, and then, like I said, I accidentally ended up with an EV and was doing a bit of stuff around data and realized that, hey, Teslas were not reporting their sales, and a lot of the data that I was getting, we could see where Teslas were being registered, what the EV market was like back in 6-7 years ago, and sort of developed on that as there was more. The governments and others wanted to know more about the EV industry, and they wanted data behind it. If we didn't have it, we built data sets, and now, given the size of our team, which is still relatively small, we serve customers in Australia at government level, private companies. Internationally, we've seen a whole lot of interest in the last 12 to 18 months. We now have customers in New Zealand, China, and Europe. So
That's fantastic.
it's from they have one shared goal. They want to be part of this EV transition. And you're in a really interesting and exciting space as well, Rosco, because the used EV market is now finally evolving, and I think there's no real turning back.
No, exactly. And we've been talking about it and following it for a couple of years now, and it's gradually been growing. And finally, again, this catalyst like this, if anything, even if it's just a blip, and we'll talk about it a bit more about how you see this as whether it is a blip on the radio or a radar, or whether it is actual tipping or turning point. Either way, the awareness that's been raised just in the last month is enough for to bank for 3 to 6 months at least for both new and used. So I've taken a lot of heart from that, because again, it's not so. I don't mind if it continues on this trend upwards, which we can debate all afternoon, evening, whether it does or not, or whether it's just a blip. But the awareness that we've got now is encouraging for yourself, and all the time that you've put in as well, And finally, you get years like this where
I think things we've somewhat reached the tipping point. But it's interesting because this has happened before in a different market, and at that time nobody really paid any attention to it. And that was in the UK when during COVID they had this huge shortage of truck drivers that weren't able to deliver fuel to the servos, and you had these huge queues. And even 3-4 years ago, there were more options in Europe, but they were still limited with the number of options. But that pushed people across, saying, well, why are we lining up to get fuel when we have other options? And we are very fortunate here in Australia, where a lot of the Chinese EV brands sort of saw us as a good market to operate in due to our tariffs and openness to try new things. And now BYD was here way before they were in Europe. So, and I think that and a lot of other brands like Zeekr, is in some parts of Europe, but in the UK market, they're about to land. Xpeng's just got in there. So
Yeah.
we've got a very unique set of circumstances that have really helped get new EVs into people's hands. And now those EVs are the ones that are ending up on the used market. And there's been always been concern and questions, Roscoe, as you've seen over the years, change from how long will I need, well, how long will it be before I need to replace the battery of the car? Will it catch
Number
on
one
fire
question.
and how frequently?
Yeah.
Two, where we are today, which is, I don't like, it's interesting, and you might have other insights, but battery health testing has become very, very common now, and it's getting more and more sort of part of just part of a checklist of what needs to happen. Where it's not even, I'm feeling that a lot of used EV buyers that I'm talking to aren't even asking the question about battery health. They're just going straight in. So, are you seeing something similar?
Absolutely, and I think, and look, Nathan Gore Brown's done a lot of work with Avalou, and I put it down to him, and I've been a supporter of his work, but I was waiting and seeing, because the retail take up wasn't as strong as I thought originally. It wasn't a must have. He talked to a lot of dealers, and from their perspective, it's be crazy not to take a trade or buy an EV without doing a test and outlay $20,000-$30,000. So he's got a lot of them on board. Then it made sense for the auction houses to raise the awareness as well. If they were being auctioned sight unseen, like Pickles, who we're talking to and looking at data from, and their clearance rates, if they've got a certificate on every page, then again, it raises awareness and people can bid sight unseen. It's all online these days. You don't get to go and walk around the old warehouse anymore. And the battery health, that's 3/4 of the value of the car, right? So absolutely. And finally now, with this catalyst, again, one of many we'll talk about in future, again, with the awareness and the strong demand for used EVs has really pushed people towards getting battery tests and raised awareness there as well. So again, timing, I think in startups is everything. And this bit of timing that we've had in the last quarter, we might look back and go, yeah, this was a major turning point for the EV industry as a whole. But yeah. Let's go and just go back. We've opened a million cans of worms there, and I'll stuff them back in again until I'll just pull one more back out again, because I want to look at this pricing again. You predicted this would be a bumper year. I think 15% in that preview at least. So we've topped that this month on new EVs. Used EVs I thought would follow behind, but yeah, this has really given it an impetus that we didn't expect. But then this crazy situation, and again, you predicted it. A price war for new EVs, and now we've got the situation where used EVs are going up in price. Did you ever anticipate anything like that?
Well, yeah, that great point, Roscoe. I mean, yeah, used EV market, it's, as simply it's supply and demand equation, right? Like we saw during COVID, new car prices were going up, so then used car prices went up.
Yeah.
This is a little bit different, where new EV prices are coming down because of the pure competition. Competition is one, and I think the other thing worth noting for viewers and listeners is that majority of the EVs we're getting are coming from China, which they dominate in that that technological sort of shift that they have and the advantage that they have. Same with manufacturing. So the Chinese internal market is a little bit softer than what it was a couple of years ago. But the manufacturers need to, they make these huge investments in manufacturing plants. As a mechanical engineer from back in the day, running these plants, they have to run at 70, 80, 90% production capacity. And if the local demand is low, that demand has to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
So if they want to sell volume, then they've got to price things right. If they've got them at low prices, if one brand does it, another one has to do it to compete. So we're starting to see some really, really amazing prices in the new EV space.
Yeah.
But at the same time, new EVs, I can't even remember what the stats are these days, but 3 times as many vehicles are sold on the used market from what I remember back in the day to a new car.
Yeah.
So majority of Australians.
Yeah, it's currently and it's about 2 million to 1 million.
2 million.
So
okay.
it is. I know, and it's a curious dynamic. Again, we may not see it again. Here's a new Geely, EX5, which tremendous deal. No relationship with Geely, either of us that I'm aware of, but just drive away 1.88% new financing, free EV charger, and 55,000. What was it? 50,000. Drive away, and then at the moment, Tesla have still got a Model Y and a Model 3 for late 40s and early 50s. These cars were 10 grand less only a month ago. So, as you say, the fascinating thing is the small size of that used EV market. I've got some data later on, but it's normally a 3,500 car per month market out of 100-odd thousand used cars sold as well. More 200,000. So it's really a tiny 1.5%. So from my perspective, it didn't take much to swing the market with a small amount of demand back to a position where, the prices have just gone crazy. And I think they have gone a bit crazy. Maybe with petrol pricing coming down a bit, maybe some of these prices that people are asking now might come back a bit on the used side. What do you see?
Well, things might settle a little bit, like once you get out of the initial shock of how quickly fuel prices have gone up.
Yeah.
The other point sort of worth noting is that right now we're in a stage where I believe there's the fuel excise relief is on, so there's about 30 odd cents a litre. That is, the fuel is cheaper. Will the fuel drop to under $2 with that 30-cent sort of discount? Because once that comes off, it'll jump back up to $2.30. Is that the new norm that people are willing to accept? And one thing is for sure, the fuel companies will be wanting to make sure that this stays high as long as it can. I feel that so you touched on it earlier. I was at the Melbourne Motor Show, and it's a general car show. It's not just the EV show. And there were days and times when you couldn't really move in the Melbourne Exhibition Centre. That's how many people are interested in the car space. About a dozen brands were there, car brands, and they basically have EVs and hybrids to showcase. And those brands that had EVs, so BYD, Zeekr, GWM, MG, GAC, Geely were also, of course, there. Those that had a good range of EVs, their stands were packed. And I remember at one stage, the Zeekr stand was so packed where, people were queuing up outside the stand just to get inside a driver's seat of a Zeekr 7X. So, and same with MG. MG's test drives were chockers because they were doing test drives as well. And GAC, a relatively new brand, I was surprised to see the amount of interest that people don't really care whether the brand is new or not. If it feels good once they get, bums in seats sell cars. Once they get into the car, even if it's a static display, and they haven't got a salesman breathing down their neck and they feel comfortable enough in it, they are quite happily, they're happy to spend 30, 40, 50, 60 grand on something that, may not have the brand affinity like some of the legacy brands, but makes them feel like this is great value. And that's what we're getting now amongst new EVs. And used EVs market is also, seeing that a bit of an uptick at the moment. I'll predict around 20% increase in prices in the last 2 to 3 months. Rosco, is that sort of what you're seeing?
I'm seeing. I haven't seen some final numbers because it's hard to take March really as in and of itself. Some of the auction clearance rates I've seen from Pickles have been up 20, 30%. Some of the other data from Dealerland has been closer to 10 to 15. So it'll be interesting to see what the sort of average out. But again, different markets between private dealer and auction house. Obviously, the auction houses were pretty low wholesale-ish rates anyway, so they had more scope to move up. Dealers probably had less scope to move and were probably priced pretty well. Interesting. The washout here and the different segments have looked like they've put out different results as well. So Hal's here. There's a few on board. Thanks for watching. And if you've got any questions for Riz, I've only got until 7 o'clock. So let me know if you've got any questions for Riz. But look, I'm just amazed. And I don't know. I didn't see this happening. We've run out of stock. I never envisaged that. Everyone said you picked a great time to be in this business. But like a lot of dealers, the stock's just been cleaned out. It's been 1 or 2 months sales within the very same month, and the market, albeit small and getting a lot of media, has really probably just cleaned itself out in the space of a month.
Well, speaking on media, Roscoe, like I would say in the last probably 4 to 5 weeks, I've probably done about 6 or 7 interviews with the major publications. And there's more coming, like because there's just so much interest in this space now. And I think it's good for general awareness. It's good to talk about sort of the key benefits, and the benefits exist in used EVs as much as they do in new EVs. So, there's some cracker cars on the used EV market. Some of them you can't even buy on the new market anymore. I was talking to someone today. I'm currently test driving a Model 3 rear-wheel drive long range.
Exactly.
But you can't buy a Model 3 all-wheel drive long range anymore. So, there is options on used EV market that might suit your needs that just don't exist on the new market at the moment. So
absolutely, we've got one in Canberra at the moment, a long range there, Model 3. Again, you can't buy it at the moment. Some of the early Polestar 2s, again, tremendous value and still really, really good cars. And so, seeing those sorts of things, I think the MG4 or the original MG4 will be a favourite. Again, the pricing is very keen on the new MG4. But you've probably had a look at it. You've driven just about everything, but the old MG4 still holds a sweet spot for me in terms of style and being rear wheel drive.
It's a cracker of a car, and just for context, I also saw the new rear wheel drive that MG announced. They no longer have the 51 kilowatt hour variant anymore. That was one of the most fun cars to drive. Affordable rear wheel drive. I think that car is going to be worth a little bit more than what it is today on the used market in the next couple of months.
The great thing about Teslas, have you thought about selling your own Model 3 in this market?
Look, I think about it. I'm thinking about it more and more because, market is just the timing is interesting, but I'm just not driving it. It's been sitting in sort of the car, in the garage for at least 6 weeks. I might have driven it for half an hour.
We're happy to list it. Can I talk to you later on about listing it?
Talk to me afterwards.
I'm happy to get you. More than happy to list it for you and promote it. It sounds like a fine example of an early Model 3. So more than happy to put that out there. What else has just on some of the new models that have come out while we've still got you? What else has impressed you more recently amongst the pack?
Look, that MG4 Urban, as you said, the front wheel drive is quite interesting. Geely is going to be. I haven't driven it personally, but I saw it at the motor show. Geely's got their EX2, they call it. It's China's best-selling electric car. That's coming sort of Q3. But I was very impressed late last year to drive the JQ Amoda J5 EV. It's a bit of a long name, but that car at 37 grand or 36,990 drive away, it has really pushed that small SUV, electric SUV market to think about what they should be pricing their cars at. And they've gone, gangbusters. I think they've got over 4,000 pre-orders and they've delivered about 1,300 cars. So, the timing, pricing, whole lot of other factors, but with 8-year warranty for private use and those sort of things, like that's the benchmark now. 37 grand is what we're paying. And then obviously you've got Geely for the last 18 months has really impressed me with the EX5 and they seem to be doing relatively well. But the options are just endless at the moment, Roscoe.
I know. We've got a note there about someone. Every Facebook post, every time we get a comment, we're going to get more and more valuable as consultants and advisors in this market, just being in this market. Before you go, I know you're off to China next week, Beijing. They call it the China International Auto Show, isn't it now? But that's starting next week, 24th.
It is
Another.
on the 24th, yeah.
You're off to China. There's a few off to China. Stan's off to China from Kangaroo Island. He's
Woo.
off tonight. He's going to care of Zika, so he's off to China as well. Everyone's going to China at the moment, but we'll just finish on one note. Almost 7 o'clock. So
that's
for
right.
those people, a bit more serious in terms of few people, I guess, seeing the decision now. Tesla's almost become the standard in service and charging networks, and become a real commodity where I've seen on the used market. Easier to price up until now. It was easy to price, easy to compare. And again, a white Model 3 versus a white Model 3, the pricing slotted in quite nicely, but the service was there, the parts were there. There was some certainties about the market. Any advice for anybody that's sort of looking at some of these new brands? That's the big question mark. Yeah, it's a tough one about whether you choose a Tesla Model 3 at existing price or one of the existing brands like Polestar that you have been there already now, and BYD, or some of the newer ones, who are just coming into market with some of these new brands.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some brands that I guess have not gotten a good publicity in the mainstream media recently.
Yeah,
particularly around
X being excluded. Yeah,
that's right. Particularly around parts and the rest of it.
Yeah,
but I think the industry, like when I talk to the CEOs and executives of a lot of these companies locally here in Australia, like we're getting reassurances now that there'll be parts available, parts supply. The dealers they're onboarding, they don't want to be caught in the middle of something where there's no parts. So they're being more stricter as well with OEMs to say you must have. So things are improving. Now, I do say, like, there's some brands, if you're looking for something affordable, there's some brands that are just really easy to recommend. For example, MG is very easy to recommend because they've got, close to or over 100 dealers. The pricing of their cars and the quality and sort of the 10-year warranty they're offering, it's a no-brainer. It's like, recommending an iPhone or something, or like a Google phone to somebody. It's just a no-brainer. Then you've got Geely is also done quite a lot of work in terms of their setting up parts warehouse very early, and Geely is so huge, they know exactly what they're doing. Zeekr, their sub brand, or obviously operating separately here, they announced at the Melbourne Motor Show that they'll have they've invested in a parts warehouse in Melbourne as well, so they've got parts available locally. Pretty much it's going to be, that's what every new brand has to have and has to do. GAC announced the same thing over at the Melbourne Motor Show. So just as long as they're big enough brands, like GAC sells 2 million cars in China. So, they know what they're doing. If you're going with one of those brands, they're here for the long term. Because it's not cheap to set up operation here. We're talking tens of millions of dollars for each one of these brands. Some brands that come under with a distributor, you might have to sort of do your research and figure things out. But the larger ones, the ones that you see that are in the top 10 sales, it's pretty easy to read. They've got their stuff sorted.
I appreciate that. Our sympathies to anyone that's had a specific problem. We're not saying there's not existing small problems. Every dealer has had them, every manufacturer, every model. So there are always little things, which could turn to big things. But on the whole, I guess that it is interesting how these evolve. That's one of the decisions. It's not whether it's going to be an EV now. It's which brand, whether it's an established one like Tesla now, and you could call BYD and Tesla established now, versus one of the newer ones. So I really appreciate that. And hey, have a great time in China. I would love to hear what's going on. There's so much going on. And every time you come back, and we haven't even touched on the European brands yet. I mean, there's fight back amongst the Europeans at the moment, which we haven't seen the last of them. And not discounting Toyota and Mazda that get back in the mix either in the next couple of years at all. I'm excited about what they've done more recently. Maybe Honda, but Toyota overseas from what I've seen in the US, and Mazda here. I'm not counting them out, and I'm certainly not counting out the European brands either. So.
Thanks for having me on, Rosco. Good to be on. And all the best with the rest of your live stream.
Lovely. Thanks for joining me, Riz. All right. All the best. Thanks a lot.
Good night.
That was Riz Akhtar. Thanks for joining us, Riz. He's off to another meeting now. Fascinating to get his insights because he's right on the pulse from just about every aspect of the industry. And you've seen him in the Driven, you've seen him on Ludicrous feed, and yeah, he's off to China again, and so much happening over there. Can't wait to see what happens when he gets back again. We'll just go to a short break now, come back with a bit more of detail on some of that EV news and some of the sales data, which, again, we heard a lot about it in the last couple of weeks, but let's just see what's going on, plus some cars we have got for sale at AmazingEV. So we'll see you in a couple of minutes. Can we do it? Welcome back, and thanks, Riz, again. That was fantastic. Just great to get his insights. He's across everything, but we just wanted to step sideways now and just take a bit more of a look at some of the data that has come out for the April sale, in April for the March sales. We've been talking about it for a while now, and just, yeah, I can't believe it, because we're getting sources from data from not just Carloop, but AutoGrab, as well as Pickles Auctions. Everyone's feeding information to us, as well as the information we're getting from our own buyers and sellers at AmazingEV. And if you're looking to sell and you want a list, we're happy to provide a free listing with our coupon AmazingEV down in the description down below, because we are short of listings, and there are some data out there that suggests that stock is still way down. But let's jump into it, because we got this AutoGrab data on breaking news, and this summary came out just in the last couple of days from AutoGrab, who prepare the data for the used EV market on behalf of the AEVA, the Australian Automobile Dealers Association, who represents all the used brands. We're not a used dealer, but we're providing a marketplace. And the summary is pretty obvious, but here it is succinctly presented, that Australia's used electric vehicle market experienced a sharp and sudden surge in activity during March 2026, coinciding directly with the escalation in the Middle East. Yeah, and that's, we knew it, we saw it, and the data bears it out. And the used EV sales more than doubled in between February and March, 3,176, AutoGrab accounting data that they skim from all the marketplaces for the entire used car market, and carve out a segment for the used car market. And remember that still 200,000 odd 200,000 used cars sell every month in Australia. Over 2 million per year, 2.1, 2.2 million. So a very tiny amount. But that figure doubled from 3,176 to 7,557. 139% increase, something like that, in just 1 month. So available stocks dropped by 38%. But available stocks dropped by 38%, leaving the market with just 28 days of supply. Now, if you want to try and work out what days supply is. We checked it out on our friend Gemini, of course. Days supply, or market days supply, is the used car stock measures, or how many days it would take to sell all the current stock. So normally that figure for the used market is around about 60 to 70 days, and that's what dealers work on. They don't want anything over 60 days, 2 months old. That's old stock, and it's got to go, gets priced accordingly. But in this case, it dropped to less than a month, which is extraordinary for even used EVs or even the used car market generally. So that was just incredible. We haven't got figures about depreciation from, or appreciation from AutoGrab this time. But their next point was that the Chinese origin and value proposition of EVs dominated consumer demand. Now, I'd debate that because I think this was pretty much Tesla-led from what we've seen, and I haven't got the details, numbers, but from what I've seen in the top of the tables, it's normally Tesla Model 3s, Model Ys, MG4s, Polestar 2s, so debatable, but still happy to debate that one. Used EV prices have increased since January, but the recovery is uneven. So certainly we had a look at some of the bargains last Sunday night on EV cruising. And if you want to join us just to have a cruise around the marketplaces on Sunday night, join us at 6:30 because we go into different markets and check out what is available. Just a bit of a more casual, laid-back approach. And this week we're going to check out BMW versus Mercedes, and two brands and that haven't had a lot written about them on the used market, but just ticking away. And so we're going to take a look and see if there's any deals there, because BMW are making big strides forward. Mercedes-Benz had a bit of a false start. They're making smaller strides forward now. Check out the new Mercedes EQS revision. Still not a fan. Still a lot of money. I thought they were going to drop the EQS name, but with these new ones. But anyway, that was out this week as well. Check the photos out of that. Not for me, unfortunately, but we're going to check out used EVs, BMW versus Mercedes-Benz this week, and maybe chuck a sprinkling of Audis in there. So maybe some of the stock still left over when stock dropped by 38%. A lot of it was still maybe at the higher end, some Porsche Taycans, some of the European stuff. We'll see if we can find some bargains. Maybe some of this pricing has come because BMW have got some fantastic cars. We're going to see the Chinese auto show. You've already seen them, and I can't wait to see what's going on. Joseph said, I saw an American post today on Facebook saying we got 2 EV left and there's a lot of supply empty. I did some numbers, and I'll bring those back up. I did some numbers on, again, more recently on the American market. We'll have a look at that as well, because suddenly the American market used EVs are almost half the whole new EV market. Remember, they still do 800,000 or 900,000 EVs a year, but for the last quarter, the Cox Automotive data, new EVs were a couple of 100,000 and used EVs were close to 100,000. So prices are holding up reasonably for the used market there. They used to have incentives, you'd know this, Joseph, they used to have incentives for new and used, which were really generous. Of course, those got canned 6 months ago. The new EV market's dropped away. Surprisingly, Toyota, again, I'm going to say this 100 times, surprisingly, Toyota are outperforming Ford on the new side. But on the used side, yeah, the market is almost half the new car market at the moment. So we're still a long way from that. This one here, again, if you want to put that into that piece of paper there, due to the wonders of modern science, put that summary there into Google Gemini, and you get a wonderful chart about the increase, trying to summarize all the points on that, which almost ends up more complicated than just reading it out. But I'm not sure if Gemini will be any help, but maybe it's the way I gave it instructions. So then if you take those numbers and break them down a little bit more, again, have a look at listings versus sales. So the numbers were ticking along, 8,000 odd listings, and 90% of those were on car sales, and about 50-50 were new versus used. Suddenly earlier this year, there was a bit of a spike up of dealer, 50-50 dealer, 50-50 private, so 50% private, 50% dealer. There was a bit of a spike up of the listings, closer to 75% for the dealers, and private listings were dropping back, but You can see the effect of March there. The listings dropped from 8,000 odd down to 5,129. Again, and still a lot of those were at the top end of the market. A lot of those were still demos and dealer demos. And we were tracking at one stage the private listings. And again, I haven't looked at the data any more closely. The private listings in the sweet spot of sort of 10, 20 to 30, 40,000 were down to probably 200 or 300 cars. You can list your van. How? Is it an electric van? We only take electric cars. So as long as it's an electric van, there's some great new van deals out there. Well, can't wait to see some of those come through on the used market as well. PV5 and the new Farazon. So, but you can list, of course you can, as long as it's electric. And if it's not electric, you can get it converted. So that's no problem. So you can see, along with sales increasing 137%, listings were way down 38. So there's the summary for March. Just extraordinary. Everything we thought was going to happen. And there is the day's supply. So it was running up a little bit high January, February. It needed a boost. The market really needed a boost. There's no doubt about it. I'm glad we got one. I'm sorry for the reason, and I'm sorry for the rest of the petrol price and particularly the diesel drivers at the moment. I just feel sorry for them. I've had a diesel van and I bought it because it was cheaper, and I bought it when I didn't know anything. And I was young and innocent, but, well, that was a long time ago, and I'm sorry that people are paying $3 for diesel, because that's going to affect all of us and all of our cost of goods. So not happy about that. But this one shows that the day's sale just has dropped dramatically. That means it's now taking less than a month to sell a used EV, whereas it was taking up to 76 days, 80 days to sell on average a used EV across both dealer and private. So day sale has dropped from well over almost 2.5 months to less than a month. So that is, by any industry standards, a magnificent figure. Absolutely brilliant. So just a bit more on the general stats. Just again, the overall market, if you want to just see how small EVs was. And in my mind, it swung so quickly because the media just got a hold of this, and the petrol prices did go up. But because of the small size of the market, it swung dramatically because demand easily outweighed supply so quickly. Because if you look at the broader used car market, there's 327,000 cars listed, and there's 5,000 used EVs. So, yeah, it is always going to be challenging to run a used EV market in the context of that. We're carving out our niche, and we stay devoted to just pure EVs. But that market actually increased. The number of cars increased. Maybe more people were selling petrol cars, but even still, a total of about 222,000 cars, used cars, were sold in March. And again, only 7,000 of those were EVs. So we still have a long way to go. We've come a long way, but we still have a long way to go to even make it an impact on the overall used car market. I'm really encouraged by having chats like that to Riz, because I love looking at the new car market, and it's a real decision about new or used at the moment. Forward orders are going to be well out for the new cars, and used cars is going to take a little bit of time to catch up with some decent stock. But I see prices on some of the markets coming down a little bit now and dropping a bit, the ones I'm following. So it will be very interesting to see what we've got. And of course, not that one, this one. On our own used EV market, we are going to go back to have a look at No, we're not. Yes, we are. Where's it gone? So, looking for, don't forget AmazingEV. On AmazingEV, our own market, check it out. We've still got a couple there, and I've lost my link to the shared screen site. That's all right. But we have got a couple there that, again, the Kona we looked at last week on EV Cruising on a Sunday night. There's a beautiful Tesla Model Y there as well. Plenty of cars still. Again, we're hoping to pick up more listings. If you know anyone, I put the call out. If you do know anyone, let us know, because it certainly makes a big difference. And if we can promote it, we'll do everything we possibly can. Leave no stone unturned. So that's it for tonight. Fantastic that Riz could join us. Can't wait to see what news we get from China about the new models coming. We need some more stock. We need to get this market going again. People can hold out in terms of prices, but I think they'll come back down again to a level that is probably matches buyer demand as petrol prices probably come back a little bit with the government helping out in the short term. I think that'll probably weaken the demand for used EVs just for a short time. And I think some of these prices that people are asking will come back to a bit more normality. So I can't wait to see. Yeah, thanks, Hal. I'm not going to spend the rest of the 5 minutes looking for my shared screen because somehow, here it is, of course. No problem, Hal. I found it. Perseverance, even live. Let me show you a couple that we've got there, including this, if you're interested, because I want to show you. Great company we're working with, Adventure Camper Vans. If you are having a senior moment, Hal, and you want to prepare for that grey nomad lifestyle, Adventure EV, they're doing this one. They've got on demo for sale right now. But if you want to do something and you're looking for one of the new Farazons or PV5s, they've already got plans. You can go and order it now. So you can start your grey nomad life anytime soon as well. I might have to join you, but hey, we can do this on the road. Mrs. Amazing and I forgot to tell Riz that Mrs. Amazing had a laser as well. And yeah, that's one thing Mrs. Amazing's got in common with Riz, that they both had a laser. So they both met, I'm sure they met different fates as well. And then again, the long range I wanted to show you. This one's based in Canberra, Sydney to Canberra, no stops in the long range Model 3. Again, brilliant car. You can't get the long range Model 3 all-wheel drive anymore. You can get the long range, I think this, but not the all-wheel drive, not like this one, not for this price. And beautiful blue, lovely car. We know these people. They're fantastic, been fantastic owners. Bit of cherry blossom in Canberra at the moment as well. So keep an eye out for that one. I wanted to show you this. And of course, again, the MG ZS EV, when we were Sunday night EV cruising, the MG ZS EV came up as still one of the bargains. This one in WA, and this is under 20 grand now. So still a bargain for EV, second-hand EVs. And the Kona Electric, this one is too. There's a couple of these around. This one's Sydney-based, down south in the Shire. Have a chat to Patrick, give him a call, have a drive. Again, brilliant first car, the Ioniq. No, sorry, the Kona. Yes, this is a Kona, not an Ioniq. Ioniqs as well, the Ioniqs and the Konas, both good value. And so this is where some of the market is looking now at the moment. We're happy to list these. If you've got one, let me know, because look, don't forget the Model X as well. We had a look on the Tesla website last week. I'm going to have another look now when we're Tesla Australia. There was a little bit of a bargain there in this space that might be worth looking at if you're considering the Model Y long range and you're not that so fussed on the fully FSD certified pre-owned at Tesla. We had a bit of a laugh at their expense before, but the model for the 50s and 56,000, 59,000 long range all-wheel drive Model Y from 2023. But hey, guess what? The Model X at 81,000, 2019, done 88,000 Ks. Could still be a good deal. So just, I mean, you never know. You never know that could be the car. I've got a soft spot for Model X. Roland's got one as well. So love those cars. Absolutely love them. Now, that's enough for tonight. We've had a cruise around our marketplace as well. There's a few deals there. Put the word out. If you know anyone who's selling, put them in touch. We'll do what we can to promote it tonight. If you are in the market for a used EV or you know one who is, let us know as well. There's still some deals out there. I am Rosco. It's been a fantastic night. We'll let you out on a bit of a cruise around our market, Amazing EV. Thanks, Riz, for joining us tonight. It's been a fun night, and look, hopefully get him back after China. Have a good time, Stan. Everyone else going to China. Joe's going to China in a couple of months' time. I think everybody's going to China for the EV show. It's going to be fantastic. Look forward to seeing you on Sunday night. I'm Rosco. We'll see you soon.